you for tuning in to episode 3 of the Big Pod. I appreciate you hearing what I have to say about the different happenings in the Big Ten. And please wait a moment as I quickly edit the thumbnail. So you might be able to do this in 15 seconds today. I was really ready for it. I think I got it. It's like freezing. Why is it? There you go. Took a little bit. I'm just going to check my audio and then we'll be set. There you go. Okay, audio's fine. I'm just going to check my audio and then we'll be... Okay, so to start with, same as always, just kind of want to state of the state. You guys have done a great job getting your games in. The only team that doesn't have all of their Block 1 games played at this point in time is Purdue. And of course, you guys might know Purdue had some difficulty just kind of being active in the league. So we replaced them with someone new, Robbie. And Robbie's actually played one of his 2 games already. Nidler's told me Robbie will be able to get an extension just because he just joined the league yesterday, I'm pretty sure. So he'll be able to get that time in to get that last game in because I saw he's a little busy this weekend. So hopefully we can get all of our Block 1 games played. And then I see we have a few outstanding games for Block 2. Let's see if I do some quick counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 outstanding games for Block 2. So of course I'll do what I typically do, go look at the scheduling threads for those. I can see one of them is Nidler against Black Rain. So of course that's 2 guys that know each other pretty well. So I'm fully expecting that game to get played. Probably not going to need my assistance, but maybe some of them I'll just check to make sure everyone's talking. And then the BD Cup expires. I'm pretty sure the Sims happen tonight. So of course kind of late for anyone to get some Beefy Cup games in, but I'd assume as I'm doing kind of some quick scrolling, a lot of them is just, I don't know, not great participation in the Beefy Cup across the league this year. So I'm hoping, and Shell has said there will hopefully be some changes coming for the Beefy Cup in the future, because I appreciate that we have something to kind of honor someone who was very important to the league, even though I was never able to meet the guy. But of course, disappointing that whatever that honoring is, it's not quite happening the way sure a lot of the vets would like, and then the new guys don't really quite understand even why it exists. So without further ado, though, we're going to get started with, I think, a team that's been in the national talk instead of just the Big Ten talk. That's the Illinois Fighting Illini. So he had 2 really tough games last block. His first one was at home against Marion County in Utah. Fortunately, wasn't able to do great in that one. I thought he played pretty well. He was able to only lose by 16. I watched a bit of the game. A lot of it was like him getting fumbles in the red zone just to stop Marion from scoring another touchdown to push the lead even further. I do think Marion had pretty good control over this one, but it was a valiant effort by Sneal Shiesty. I think you definitely got to watch out for his hit stick on kind of his red zone defenses. Looked like it's quite formidable. But the other game, the one that everyone was really talking about, is his game against Indiana, which he actually did win. Of course, you heard the prediction first here on the Big Pod that Pat just isn't locked in. He plays his first user with a team over 80 overall, and he finds a way to lose. Unfortunately, for the Big Ten, likely means we're probably not going to get that 4th playoff team. I do think Andy still has a shot at getting the 3rd spot, but Pat's kind of fighting for his life at this point. But regardless, of course, this is Illinois segment. I'm going to talk about the positives. Illinois played a great game. Sneal Shiesty did a great job of holding Pat to only 28 points and also being able to score 31. Pat's really good at defense. And Sneal was able to score when he needed to. And then especially there were some plays. One in particular has to come to mind is Pat threw an interception in Sneal's, Shiesty's, and Illinois' end zone at the end of the half. Prevented him from being able to get those crucial few points that a field goal easily, would have tied it. He only lost by 3. So very disappointing for the Hoosiers, but very exciting for the Fighting Illini. As we look ahead to their block this week, definitely a bit of a break from these super difficult games. The first one being one of those kind of really a G5 matchup, playing Purdue at Purdue. Robbie's taking over the team, seems very active, so I do expect this game to get played. I did watch Robbie's first game against Northern Illinois. Seemed like he struggled a little bit to score, especially on a MAC team, so I am thinking it's probably not going to be too close, expecting Sneal to win this one by at least a couple scores. But do appreciate Robbie joining and look forward to Sneal showing the Big Ten what it's all about, because right now he's undefeated in Big Ten play. But his other game, this block, is not going to be as easy. It's against a really tough team and a really tough coach, KDOT. I was learning last week KDOT was really good on NCAA 10 and 11. He was third in the world on Xbox in those games. So shout out to him for being that good. Being very humble about it. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm not too good now. And it was like, yeah, I just put a ton of hours in. He wasn't braggadocious. And I only saw it because I think someone else brought it up. So shout out to him for that. Always appreciate that. But regardless, this is going to be a tough matchup for both these teams. I think they're very evenly matched. They're both rated highly, but I don't think either of them play to these really high ratings. Neither of them seem to play like they have an 89 offense, and definitely neither of them seem to play like they have high 80 defenses. So I think it's going to be a really tight one. I'm going to take Sneal just because KDOT's adjusting to the P5 this year. Last year he was Sam Houston State, did a good job, but it's definitely a different level of football. And if I recall correctly, yeah, he only has one game played so far against Cruising, so he still has some adjusting to do. So I do think I'm going to take Sneal just because he's a little bit more adapted at this point in the season. And then I do want to mention, because I did notice it, because you forget sometimes, is that Florida Gators Maverick, he's been having some huge upsets. I think he beat LSU. I know he beat LSU. He also beat Miami. And then you go and look at his Beefy Cup, and Sneal was able to beat him. So watch out for Sneal Dynasty. That's all I have to say. Now moving on to the team Sneal beat. Pat in Indiana. Of course, as I said before, very disappointing loss to Illinois. His other game was on the road. Of course, it was on the road because he wanted the free bonus point. Against Liberty's in the Conference USA. Against Liberty, he had a 17 overall advantage. He won by 25. Unimpressive, unsurprising, doesn't need to be talked about anymore. But he has one game this week that's a game of the week, so I'm super looking forward to that. It's on the road at Kinnick, who I think has he might have a top 20 HFA. So definitely going to be an interesting one there. Of course, if you look at Brady's senior season so far, like I said, like I've said previously, he doesn't really want to be in the spotlight, but he's kind of shown it's hard to ignore him because he goes against Chrome, is able to hold him to 37 points, a guy that's been scoring 50 almost every game since he joined the NDL, and is able to score 48, which is a little unsurprising due to the poor defense that Chrome plays. But I think it does show that even though Pat's really good at stopping the run, if he knows what he's doing, he didn't stop it great against Illinois, so I do think Brady's going to have a big day ahead of him. I know Pat has said he's looking forward to the game, definitely not dodging the competition, but I think this is going to be some great competition. Again, going to keep picking against Pat until he shows me he can win a game against a team with an overall anywhere near his, or remotely close to his, because he just doesn't have any good wins yet. Even Beefy Cup wise, one against Troy. I mean, he hasn't beaten a P4 team in a sanctioned NDL game as Indiana yet. And until he does that, I'm going to pick against him. So, and we're going to take the Hawkeyes to pull off. I don't know. We'll see on game day. I think it's going to be a 50-50 toss-up. I don't think it'll be seen as an upset, but I'm excited to watch it. It should be really fun to see how Pat tries to defend this crazy Brady senior run game. And then Pat's other game is also on the road. He's scheduled a MAC team because, again, he just wanted to get hopefully as free wins as possible. He's a 20 overall advantage in this one. Against St. Rains, of course, he's going to win this game. It's not that bad. I know I josh with him and give him some grief, but he's not going to lose to Bowling Green. So, so I expect Pat to go 1-1 this block. Now, moving on to our next team, who I just talked about. It's kind of nice. Everyone's kind of been just talk about, you remember him. Brady Senior. like I said before, had a great block last block. Only had to play one game. It was against Chrome. It was on the road. But he was able to come away with the victory against Rutgers, 48-37. That was a very fun game to watch. I thought it was kind of funny if you guys do the betting. I think the line is set at like 62.5, so that was a pretty easy over bet. The total ended up coming in at 85. Yeah, at 85, so it was way over. But it was a fun game to watch. You could really see Brady's offense just super difficult to stop for a player in Chrome who just isn't the best in the world on defense. So he kind of is going to see the opposite of that. He's going to play, I think, two of the better defensive schemers. I was going to say users, but I mean, Pat's not good at usering. He's just good at scheming. So he's going to play Pat, as I mentioned before. I do think Brady's going to come away with the victory in that one. But the other game that I think is quite interesting that he's going to play is on the road, and it's going to be against Tennessee in Vegas, who, despite having a good start to this season, winning his BBB debut against Kansas State, I don't think he's done exceptional. I want to say he dropped the game since then. I don't know if he's won a game since then. I think he might be 1-2 to start. Let's see. He's 2-2. He was able to come away with the victory against Chase VT Run again. Always a nice win. But lost to Tutty by 18, and then lost to CJG and BYU by 2. So he's got a loss he probably really shouldn't have, and then one you kind of expect against Georgia. So I think it's going to be kind of a prove-it game. Brady, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Brady, I don't think Brady loves the spotlight, but then you also look at the games he schedules. He schedules Tennessee and Clemson, so definitely not backing away from any competition. So it will be interesting to see. Of course, I was going to say, of course, I'll pick the Big Ten guy because I'm the commish, but no, we're being serious. I don't think Vegas is ever the best in the world at stopping the run. I think he's a lot of good pass defense, some good blitzes. Of course, it's a lot of reason him and Smitty kind of have that many rivalry, is Vegas is quite good at drawing up some nice blitzes to create pressure. But I do think Brady's going to be able to run the ball pretty well just because of how running is in this game. If you're really committed to it, it works. And I think Iowa's going to come away with a very close victory. Last-second field goal for Iowa. The HFA at Tennessee just isn't quite enough, and Brady's able to sneak one through and get the victory and go 2-0 in this block and really have an incredible start to the season despite his loss to Pirate with huge wins over Indiana and Tennessee. And then if we move on to our next team, we got Wild in Maryland, who actually finally started his season because he had a couple byes in block 1. He played 2, I'd say, formidable coach. I forget Indiana or Maryland's that low overall, so I guess he played 2 teams that are pretty even overall to him too. He played Western Michigan. This is a 0.5 on his win goal, only 1 overall difference. He's able to come away with a 17-point victory on the road. Arkansas, I was watching him play Toledo. He's able to score quite a bit, so to be able to hold him to 28 is pretty good for Wild. And to be able to score 45 in both of his games, he scored 45 in this one, won 45-28. And then his other game he played, his first Big Ten game of the year against a fellow veteran, Nidler, and was able to come away with that victory as well, 45-29. Of course, it's a very even matchup. 2 guys that have kind of done a great job posting these Sora videos. Seem like they've had a good time, and I enjoy watching, so I hope they continue to post those. But shout out to Wilds for starting the year 2-0. Impressive. We don't have a lot of 2-0 teams. I think we only have, teams that have won all the games they've played. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 5 of them. So, got to be impressed by that. And then looking forward to the block ahead, Wilds has 1 game I don't think will be too bad for him, but it's still on the road. He plays a lot of road games. He's going to play Buffalo. Wow, even team matchup. I would say the coaches are pretty even too, but I do think Wilds is a little bit better than Chili Chill. Chili Chill's not bad by any means. I've been talking with him in the DMs. He's seen a couple times. He's been watching his grandkids while he's been playing, which I thought was kind of funny. And unfortunately, he said he wasn't quite able to overcome the home field advantage of having his grandkids talking to him while he's playing and trying to keep an eye on them. But hopefully for this one, he's able to kind of get some alone time to be able to focus on the game and give Wilds a good fight. But I do think Wilds, having been a guy that's been at some really big schools, he's able to kind of take that knowledge and come away with a victory against Chili Chill and Buffalo in a game between two, I'd say, medium-sized schools. And then his other game, pretty difficult. It's his first home game of the year, though. It's going to be against a really good Washington team that just hasn't quite found their footing. Is the only way I can really put it on Duvid. And, man, it feels weird that I want to pick Wilds just because I don't think Duvid's bad, but, man, Duvid just hasn't shown me anything yet this year. Yeah, I'm going to take Wilds just because it's at home. I think Duvid's kind of... the doubt starts to creep in when you start... I mean, is Duvid 1 and... Duvid's 0-2, so he hasn't even gotten a win yet. It really depends. Duvid still has an outstanding game against Washington State and Tim. I think if Duvid wins that game, he has the confidence to win this game against Maryland. But if he plays this Wilds game first, just doubt really starts to creep in when you start the year 0-2. And two games where, like, as Duvid expressed to me, he felt like he could have won them and just didn't quite win them. And then I think he also has a suspension. I think they do kick in for this game. So we'll be missing a couple of his skill position players for stemming down a corner route. So reminder to you guys, read the rule book if you haven't. At the very least, just remember, I think like the biggest thing is just like don't stem routes. Don't stem routes. You can stem routes, but I recommend you don't just because it's hard to remember everything in the world. And if you can just remember basic tenets, don't stem routes. Only do 2 hot route adjustments. One of the other big things you can really mess up on offense. Don't ever hot route a running back on a play action. That's really all you can screw up on offense. And then I would say, like, defensively, the biggest thing is just, like, don't move 2 guys before the snap. If you guys don't do that, it's kind of hard to break any rules. And then the big one for the clockwise is just, like, don't turn on 2 clock. Except unless you're under 2 minutes to go in the game. Or your opponent tells you to. But yeah, I mean, you guys know the rules. This isn't a rules podcast, but I just want to say, like, I think those are kind of basic things. And then fourth down, everything, you can always pause and look and you'll figure that out. People will be more than willing to assist you if you ever need assistance. But regardless, I do think Maryland's going to come away with the victory in this one. Very close. This would be quite the surprise, but, you know, sometimes you got to go on a limb. And I think Wilds is a little bit better than people were expecting going into this year. So I do think he goes 2-0 in this block. And starts the year 4-0. Wow, that would be impressive. Especially that 78 overall Maryland team. Okay, now moving on to the first team in the mitten. 6. Yeah, I couldn't remember the coach. So 6 hasn't played any games this block. He's going to be the first member, or he's going to be the first guy where I'm going to go check the scheduling thread. Oh, so this is week 4 against... Or against Nebraska. 7 messages one day ago. Okay, so it seems like they've been messaging. Did a good job sending. Sounds good. No, gonna try to schedule a little late. Find another day though. Okay. So yeah, just a little bit of. Not the best communication, but I mean also like said sometimes it would work. Tried it out, didn't quite get the advance notice. But it seems like they've been messaging. I have faith this game will get played. I don't think I need to add both of them or anything at this point in time. Okay. And then of course you got a preview. 6 is block ahead. He's got a couple games against not the best teams in the world. But I think they'll give him games because it's Michigan on the road and Bryce Young on the road in this game is just horrible. His first one's on the road against a Mountain West team. It's against the Colorado State Rams and Doc. Doc struggled a lot. I do think, even though 6 struggled himself in his other road game against the Mountain West, playing against the Wyoming Cowboys and Coach Barakoff, I do think he's going to be able to pull away on this one against Doc, just because I haven't seen him. Doc hasn't proven me much in the games I've watched. Hasn't shown me much. So I do think 6 just has enough of an overall gap where we're going to be able to win this one. And then his other one I'm actually kind of looking forward to because I'm interested to see how they'll play. I do think Nidler being on the road is going to be tough. I don't think he'll put together this incredible performance that shocks everyone. But I think he'll be able to keep it close. But unfortunately, I think the home field advantage is going to be too much to overcome, and then that 94 defense is going to be too much to overcome for Nidler. So do expect 6 to win this one. So I expect 6 to go undefeated this block. And hopefully get that game played against Nebraska, which I think will be tough. I do expect him to lose that one. But that'd be nice to have him be 3-1 going into kind of the heart of his conference schedule, which, I mean, Michigan has a pretty easy conference schedule this year. The only tough team they play is Ohio State, of course. But they dodge Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana. So hard to complain about that. So let's move on to the little brother school in the mitten. True North Raptor, Hughes is formerly AKA Hughes. Did change his name because I think True North Raptor is more fitting. I mean, he had the name of Quinn Hughes. I assume being like, oh, he's on a Canadian team, the Canucks, but then he got traded to the Wilds. He's not really in a Canadian team anymore, but hard not root for Quinn Hughes. But of course, as a Canadian, him winning the gold medal against you is kind of tough. He hasn't played either of his games this past block. So I am going to look in the scheduling threads real quick. So his first one's against Delaware, to see how that's been going for him. Of course, I know this is very skippable for you guys listening, but, you know, did I spell Delaware wrong? Saturday or Sunday works? I can do Saturday or Sunday. What time frame works? Okay. So they're talking. I think they'll be fine. I mean, they just sent a message. What was that? Yesterday morning. I'll just re-add them. No games get missed. Okay. You don't care. I mean, I don't know. As the commissioner, you kind of just have to be okay being a little annoying sometimes. Then we'll see USC. 5 days ago. I don't love to see that. Next weekend work. Next weekend would be this weekend, right? Yeah. Just add them both. Because I know that there's so many threads in this Discord that like they'll go away if you don't talk for a certain amount of time. So looks like you guys. So it always helps to kind of give someone that. I know I appreciate it because it's sometimes I forget like where the scheduling thread is. It's hard to find, so I will see. But regardless, okay, adding them in both the scheduling threads. Hopefully he gets those games in against Delaware and USC. And then his other games his one game this coming block 3, is on the road. How many blocks are there in the season? 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I should do the conference review after block 4. Yeah, that's probably most appropriate. Okay. Sorry, I was talking out loud because I know I made the predictions at the beginning of the year. I do want to revisit them. Of course, at the end of the year, there's not really a point in revisiting them because you guys can all see the standings yourselves. But I guess I could do it this year. We'll see. But regardless, he's playing in Nebraska on the road. I think D Ward's a pretty good coach. I think he's going to show he's got some more skills than he's kind of given himself credit for. But I also think True North Raptor is not too half bad. Call him TRN just for short. I think TRN's not half bad at all. He's been able to. I think he gave me a game. It's just he wasn't really able to stop the run. Unfortunately, he's given up 49, 48 points in the first 2 games. But I think that changes. Michigan State's just not that bad, and his home field advantage is going to help a lot. Unfortunately, this game's not at home, so it'll be pretty difficult. So I do expect him to drop this one, but I think looking ahead to his schedule, he's got Michigan at home, which is always very helpful. Penn State also at home helps a lot. Maryland at home. I think he will be able to sneak out with that 5-game win goal, especially considering he's playing Delaware. It's one of those out-of-conference games that he's looking at. So do expect Michigan State to lose this one against D-Ward, but I think he's going to have a better season than he's expecting. I don't know what everyone else is expecting, but me personally, I think TRN's not expecting the best of himself, but I think he should be because he's a good player. Okay, now next team we got someone who really I think could always benefit from a pet dog because I do think it's tough to always lose one-score games. So we got NTX, we got Matt, host of the Hot Route. I don't think they had a new episode last night. Yeah, so I don't think I missed that. Tough not having BBB. I always love a BBB Thursday, but might get a BBB Saturday. Regardless, he played Duke in his one game in Block 2, and unfortunately lost 42-45. So wasn't quite able to pull out that victory, but again, it's always, you gotta kind of have those moral victories when through out of conference season you're 1-2, but your point differential is actually +3. So stinks. So I do think he'll be able to turn around. Unfortunately, he's got a couple of tough games. This block ahead, not really going to get much of a breather. He does have the Ohio State Buckeyes and the D. Kennedy, who's going to be very tough to play against. I mean, he's not going to put up a fight here. I'm sorry. D. Kennedy will win this one by 35. Not really much to talk about here. Appreciate NTX for taking on these fights, and he usually fights them well, but this one, that's just a different animal. But his other game I think will actually be quite good. That's against Chrome, who I don't know, NTX, sometimes he surprises you with his defense. And this is at home, so he gets to kind of avoid any of the hot route. Chrome maybe misses a couple of hot routes that he normally gets. And with hot route attempts, so he can only miss one hot route. If he misses two, he doesn't get the hot route at all. So difficult. So I do think that'll help Matt. Unfortunately, this just feels like another one he's going to lose by 3 points. I think it will be a super high-scoring game. I think they're going to be up and down the field the whole time. But unfortunately, I kind of have to stick with history and pick Chrome to win this one by 3. Because it just kind of feels like that's what this kind of game will be. Oh, it stinks because I would like Matt to start winning some of those one-score games, but until he starts to win them, it's kind of ludicrous to start picking him to win them. So tough. I do think he's going to go 0-2 this block. Unfortunately, going to start off his conference season not great. But his win goal's 4 games. And I think Purdue's a winnable game. Northwestern and Wisconsin. So he's going to have to try and find. Oh, and he's already won the Sam Houston game. So I think he does have that 4-win goal. I think it'll be very possible for him to get that, and hopefully have a day 1 draft pick next season. Okay, moving on to one of his opponents. Oh no, not one of his opponents. One of Michigan State's opponents. Nebraska Cornhuskers. They haven't played either of their Block 2 games. I was already looking at the thread between him and Twista, Nebraska. Before I got on, it looked like, they've been talking today, so there's really nothing for me to say. Totally expect them to get the game played, saying they've been busy at work and everything. So I think that one will be fine. And then, like I said before, the 6 feet one, it was just like, wasn't the perfect communication, but they've been communicating recently, so I expect them to be fine. I'll check back in the middle of the week if I still see it unplayed. And then, like I said before, as we get into these conference games, it's going to be a lot of reiterating just like quick points because, of course, I don't need to talk about the same game twice. So it's going to be a home game against MSU and TRN. I think TRN's not quite going to be able to come away with the victory, but I do think it's going to be competitive. This is one I think will be fun to watch, just because I think they're 2 guys who have enough talent to ruin some seasons, but not quite enough talent to be playoff or championship game contenders, which is tough in this league to be a championship game contender. So I do expect Nebraska to drop this one to Michigan State. Now, the next team, we got one of those kind of... Oh, Northwestern got a big bump. I didn't realize they're all the way up to an 82. How is it? Their defense should not be rated lower than their offense. That is... I'm sure it's been like that for a while, and I'm kind of a noob for not realizing it, but... Their whole season was because their defense was good and their offense is mediocre and dumb. Okay, so... who even coaches? Oh, yeah, Bruce Bagel. So Bruce Bagel coaches them. He had two really tough games. Unfortunately, wasn't able to come away with the victory in either of them. He played Oregon and Shell. Shell beat him by 31, and then he played A&M and Rock. Rock beat him by 32. Unfortunately, was kind of expected. 29 and 32. My apologies. But was kind of expected they'd be 4-score games at least. But moving on to this block, he only has one game, and I think it's going to be a very competitive game. And I think it's going to be a very winnable game. He actually plays his first 5 games at home. It's against a guy who probably is planning on recording a podcast as I'm talking. On Outliers. Of course, listen to Outliers. Very fun podcast. They do a great job. Really go deep dive into all the G5 stuff. And it's against Vic. And Vic, I think, has done a really good job with UCLA. I think I picked Vic to, barely win some game. Oh, yeah, against Outlaw. And then he won by 28. He let me know about it. So I think this is going to be one where I know Vic listens. And I am going to say that I think because Northwestern's at home, they got a pretty good defense. UCLA's rated really poorly. I think UCLA's probably underrated. Nico plays well enough that they're not a true 78 overall. I am going to pick Bruce to win this one just because I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And I think especially at home, he can create some problems. I know he's been a thorn in Petty's side in the past, especially at BYU. So I do think he'll win just because he's at home. But excited for Vic to prove me wrong. And I think I'm kind of looking forward to the Bruins season and seeing how many times Vic can prove me wrong when I'm making predictions like this. But got to go with my gut, and I'm going to take Northwestern to win this one. And that's really it for Northwestern. So I do think he's going to go 1-0 this block and kind of hopefully get his season back on track because he's got not the toughest schedule in the world, but not an easy one. And a 6-win goal at Northwestern's hard. Yeah, he's going to struggle to get to those 6 wins. But hopefully he gets there. Always hate to see guys getting fired. Okay, moving on to one of the big hitters. I think there was some talk where it was there's a bunch of championship game competitors or something. I don't know. There's not. This is the only one. Is this guy right here, Ohio State, D. Candy. He started off the season great. His one game last block, he beat Dub by 1 million. He beat him 35-0. And then he had a bye. He has 2 games this block. Not really going to be incredibly competitive, I would expect. We'll start with the one at home just because I already have him on the right side. He's playing Minnesota at home. Like I said, he's going to smoke Matt, unfortunately. Especially with the home field advantage, there's just no way. There's no way. Minnesota doesn't have the talent to keep up in this game, regardless of who the coach is, unless you got like a MGA or some crazy good coach who can make up a huge talent deficit. And then the other guy, the other game he has is on the road. I think this one will be kind of close. And again, I think this is really going to be depending on where Duvid's head is at. I think Duvid's hands, his stick skills have the talent to keep this one close and potentially win, but I think mentally he's a little bit out of it, and I do think that's going to help. That really helps Ohio State, so I do think DeCandy's going to win this one by 14, but I think if Duvid goes into it off of a win, especially if he beats Washington State and Maryland before playing this game, I could see it being really close, but do think Ohio State's going to win either way. So expecting DeCandy, of course, as I've said a million times, I'm going to pick DeCandy every single game because, he's lost 1 game in the last 2 years. Why would I ever pick against him? It'd be silly. So do think he's going to go 2-0 this block, as I will predict for the rest of the season. Then DeCandy's big rival that he's not going to play in the regular season, but hopefully in the Big Ten Championship, Oregon. Shell played 2 games. He was the other guy, the other Big Ten team that got to beat up on Dub, and Oregon State beat him 42-14. And then, as I said before, he kind of beat up on Bruce Bagel, beat him by 29, 42-13. Shell only has 1 game this block. I think this is the other game of the week for the Big Ten. It is on the road. It will definitely be a whiteout game. This is a great game to watch in real life. And it's very beneficial for Andy that it's back at home in the NDL because, of course, last year Smitty lost it, I think primarily because it was at Oregon. So Andy's really going to get the benefit of being at home for this one. It's going to help him a lot. I can't pick against Shell, especially Andy losing to USF at home. That's not nearly the team Oregon is. Shell's just different. When he has these Oregon Ducks, he's just able to play with them so well. has really gotten good at utilizing all the abilities they have. So I do think Shell's going to win this one, but it's going to be incredibly close. Super looking forward to it. I think 7-point victory for Shell as he tries to keep his march to that 10-game win goal and potentially getting LSU if they are open for next season. So moving along, we have Andy. Of course, we just talked about this game. Don't need to talk about the same game twice in a row. I think Shell's going to win by 7. And then Andy's other game is going to be on the road against UCLA, which is just not really a home field advantage at all. The game gives them a little bit of one just because the stadium's so big, but I mean, it's not a top 25 on Vic. I think Andy's defense is just too good for Vic, who likes to run the ball, but Andy has a really good front seven, who, despite Jeff ran pretty well on him, but most of the time he defends the run pretty well, and he's able to mix stuff up. And I think Andy is going to come away with the victory in this one, so I do think Andy's going to go one-on-one. He'll drop his game against Shell, but then I think he'll bounce back on the road at UCLA and come away with the victory to start his conference season 1-1 before he goes into a really tough schedule because he does have to play Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. He also has to play Rutgers. Yeah, it's going to be a tough road ahead, but like I was kind of alluding to before, I think Andy's our best shot at getting that third team in the CFP, especially just because of how Penn State plays and how he doesn't have a bad loss yet. Like USF's going to end up being a top 25 loss, so it's not going to look too terrible on the schedule. So I think, and he has some opportunities too if he's able to beat Pat, which could be a potential playoff play-in game. We're looking ahead in the schedule, but just got to take care of the games in front of him, and I think he takes care of this one against Vic, but does lose the one against Shell. And then we have our newest coach in the NDL. We have Robbie at Purdue. Robbie played his first game against Twista. Really unfortunate they had a disconnect in the fourth quarter, but the score was 14-7. He gave the game to Twista. So crazy that they only had 21 combined points in the fourth quarter, huh? Yeah, so definitely got to keep some eyes out for that. It hasn't played any of his Beefy Cup games, so that's kind of the one game. I watched a little bit of it. Obviously struggles a lot on offense. He only has 7 points against Northern Illinois. And then his other game is against South Georgia Cracker. Like I said, potential extension for that. Hopefully helps him out. And then his games he hasn't played quite yet for the current block because he just joined last week. His first one's against USC, so I'm going to quick go on the Discord. Check up on that. USC. Purdue looks like they were just talking yesterday, which I fully expected them to be good about it. Oh, wait a little way. Here it is. Yeah, I mean, he's still talking about figuring out some Twitch stuff. Very active, talking about what's going on. Anything scheduled on the game. Tentatively Sunday at 10. Then there's other games against Notre Dame. Of course, I know RB's active too, so I'm sure this game will get played. Looks like they talked about a day ago. Robbie hasn't quite sent anything, but I know Robbie's away. So just a reminder for myself. I'll just send a message just so it pops up on my thing. I know at Robbie is in Cleveland this weekend at RB. He's been very active, so you guys should get this game in. Okay. And then, yeah, I don't need to say anything about him and K-Dot. He's been talkative with K-Dot. Yeah, so, and then he has one game this upcoming block against Sneal Shiesty. Touched on it before. I think Sneal's just too good. Robbie, of course, struggled against Northern Illinois. I think it's going to take some time to get his feet wet. I'm sure he wasn't expecting to be Purdue when he's been playing his scrimmages, and who would scrimmage as Purdue? So it's going to be tough for him, but I think as he adapts to it, hopefully preps up well for his game against, I guess, next block. Block 4 is going to be his big block because he's got games against Minnesota or Northwestern. Those will be his best chances to get a win. I think Nidler's one win did come against Northwestern and Outlaw last year, so we'll see how that goes for him. And then we got the guy, I've said it time and time again, Really looking forward to seeing how this dude plays. I've been loving watching his games. Unfortunately, he's 1-3 to start the year. Quite surprising, but he's played really tight games in all of them. We got Rutgers. He played against Iowa. It was a very fun game up and down the field, but Brady had good control over that game. Definitely was going to win that one. Did win it 48-37. And then the other game Chrome played against Jaguars, who's also a very formidable coach, especially at Kansas State. Was able to score 43, but unfortunately gave up 48. So you kind of look at this trend to start the year. Chrome's never allowed less than 48 points through his first 4 games. So is that going to change when he plays his first game? This block. It's on the road, actually. He plays his first game this block in Minnesota, and I don't think it changes. I think he still goes up 48 points. I didn't mention that earlier, but as I said before, I think Chrome's going to win this one because it'll be that one-score game that Matt just hasn't quite found a way to win since he's rejoined the NDL. Of course, happy to have him back. Happy to appreciate how much time and effort he puts into knowing everything that's going on in the NDL, but unfortunately hasn't translated to on-field success yet. I think it will happen, but like I said, got to be intelligent with the games I'm picking, so have to pick Rutgers to win this one, even though I would probably say my heart wants Matt to win because I hate to see guys keep losing games by 1 score. But then Rutgers also needs to win, so we'll see. And I think his big win against Zoot kind of showed those 1-score games. He can definitely go with the victory when he needs it. So I do think Rutgers won this one. Then we're moving on to a guy who've actually talked about both his games already because he's into his Big Ten schedule now since he's already played his 3 out-of-conference games. I kind of alluded to this one game he played against Outlaw. I think I said he'd only win by like 7 or something, but he ended up winning it by a lot more than 7. He won by 30. He won 35-7, won by 28. So good on Vic for that. And he's played all his BV Cup games. Went 2-1 in the Cup, and looks like he will advance to the round of 64. So excited to see how he performs in that. And then of course I already kind of touched on his 2 games. His first one's against Northwestern. Do think Bruce Bagel's going to come away with the win just because it's at Northwestern. And that Northwestern defense, I wouldn't be surprised if that plays a lot better than 80. They probably have a couple abilities just because they've been known as good the whole season. That always helps. And then his other game is at home, but it's against Penn State, and I just think Andy's a little too good to lose a game that he's a 7 overall advantage. I did a good job at Buffalo winning games he's supposed to win. I think this one he's supposed to win at Penn State. So definitely has to win this one if he wants to keep Penn State, so I think he will win it. I also do think Vic's going to go 0-2 this block, but I think he has a great chance to turn around games against TRN and Michigan State, game against Wild, game against USC to end the year. And I mean, he only has a 2-win goal, and he's already won 2 games, so everything's just extra at this point. So moving on, we got the other California Big Ten team, USC Trojans. I think, yep, I already looked in the scheduling threads. He hasn't played either of his games from this previous block, but I looked in the scheduling threads for both of them. Of course, the Purdue game wasn't really playable since the coach wasn't too active. And then the Michigan State game, it looked like they were planning on maybe playing this weekend. I think they added me. I'll check it after the podcast. And then his other 2 games, I talked about one of them. It's against Illinois. It's at Illinois. This one. Like I said, I think Sneal's going to win just because it's at home. I think KDOT's going to do a great job, but again, still adapting to the P4 and what it is, how difficult the Big Ten is. So I think Sneal's adapted a little bit more. It's played so many games at Auburn, kind of knows how the P4 works. So I expect Sneal to win this one. And then KDOT's other game, I kind of intrigued by it because I don't know how this is going to go. Because, you never really thought Penguin was going to lose to Florida. I've played Maverick before. He's not bad by any means, but, I thought there was a pretty big talent disparity between LSU and Florida, so I was a little surprised Penguin lost that. I think there's a pretty big talent disparity between USC and LSU, but I don't know. I mean, KDOT's won his first game of the year, hasn't played any BV Cup, so he's still getting adjusted. It's at LSU, though. I am going to take Penguin to win this one, but I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. I think it'll only be by 10, whereas I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people think it'll be a 3-score game, just given the kind of records of both coaches. And people really seem to be high on Penguin. Although I think he's got some He's got some proving to do after the loss to Florida. But it's a Big Ten podcast, not an SEC podcast. So, yeah, I think K-Dot's going to go 0-2 this block. But I think he's going to win the 2 games he hasn't played yet from last block. So I think it'll be 3-2 going into block 4. And then we got our last West Coast Big Ten team in Washington. He's played one of his games from the last block. It was against Iowa State and Lexi. Lexi did a great job of winning. The games against Lexi have to be tough because Lexi always plays at like 1:30 Eastern. I don't know where Duvid's from, but I know that would be tough for me playing that late. It's always tough when I play like scheduled games that late in the day. But Alexi was able to come away with a 3-point victory, and unfortunately Duvid also had a suspension from this game for stemming a corner route down. So kind of got double whammy there. And then Duvid has an outstanding game against Washington State. I was going to check up on. I mean, obviously Tim does a good job about getting all his games in, but I just kind of want to check Washington. Yeah, 3 hours ago they're talking. They might be playing tonight. Let's see. Worked closing, so he's up late. Or closing, so he kind of slept past the potential time. But they'll get something figured out. I mean, Tim won't let it go to Sim, so they'll get something figured out. Not worry about them. And then his other game. So then his games for this block. One of them I already talked about. Ohio State. It is at home, so I think Duvid's going to be able to put up a fight, but I do think Ohio State and D. Candy's going to win this one by 2 scores. And then Duvid's other games against Maryland. Like I said, if Duvid is locked in and isn't in his own head, I think he wins this one because he's a much better team. But I do think like when you lose these 2 games that you felt like you were really close on, like he lost this game to rain. It was in the snow. It was a tough one. And then it was into Alexi. He felt like the game really cheated him against Iowa State. I think those kind of start to eat at you, and then this is one that could really have the season derail. So I think this is a must-win for Duvid. I think he's a lot of winnable games coming up, and I think if he loses this game against Maryland, he's going to really spiral. But I hope he wins it because I don't want to see him spiral. I want to see Duvid do as well as possible. But I do think Wild's going to kind of be my one, like, out on a limb pick this week is that Wilds does win this one and kind of spirals Duvid's season a little bit. So hope it doesn't happen, but I think it's going to. So yeah, I think Duvid's, and then I think he beats Washington State, especially at home. So I think he's going to be 1-4 going into block 4, which that'd be tough for him. Okay, and then we got our last team, the Wisconsin Badgers. So Nidler has one outstanding game against Black Rain. Of course, they know each other very well. Look at that game played. I don't need to message in a scheduling thread. And then he played Wilds, lost by 16. Fortunately, he's 0-3 to start the year. And then he only has one game in this block. And unfortunately, it's a pretty tough game because it's on the road at Michigan. And I think 6 is a good enough coach to be able to take care of this game. But this is also 2 coaches that play each other a lot, kind of a common rivalry. They try and play each other every year. And I know Nidler was able to get some nice wins against 6 when he was at A&M, when Nidler was at Penn State. So you never really know. But I do think those are at home. So I think especially it being at Michigan, Bryce Underwood's just going to be playing at his best instead of at his worst like he does on the road. And I think it's going to help a lot. And unfortunately, I think Nidler's going to drop this one. But it's going to be a super close game. I think this is definitely one where, like, when you see this pop up on the live streams, this is one you kind of want to tune into because you're never really sure. You're not sure, and it would be a huge win for Wisconsin if they are able to win it. But 1.5 game win goal. I'd say he really missed not winning those games against Boston College and Toledo to get to his 2 wins. Because his next best chance is probably Matt. Otherwise, he plays a ton of good teams. Yeah, so going to be tough for Nidler, but hope he's able to come away with the win. I always hate to see a guy not win anything, but do think he's going to lose this game. And then finally, I know typically I pick like a championship game matchup. Of course, I think it's Ohio State Oregon's kind of silly to even pick it. So I'm going to pick kind of my winner and loser from last week. So we'll start with the loser because it's the most obvious pick ever. Of course, Indiana and Pat is my big loser from last block. Unfortunately, played his first Power 4 game as the Hoosiers and lost by 3 at home to Illinois. So pretty disappointing for him, but as much as I'm kind of giving him grief, he has potential to make the playoff. Like, he can still make the playoff from here. It's going to be tough getting to a 10-win goal, but the big kind of pivotal game for him is probably going to be Penn State. I think he's, like I said, I didn't pick against him, but he should be able to win that game against Iowa. And then he's definitely going to lose to Oregon, I would say, especially being at Oregon. So I think that Penn State game will end up being a playoff play-in game, but definitely the big loser right now. I'm expecting more out of him. I've been kind of trying to hopefully provide him some bulletin board material. It just has not worked. Has not been able to get that big win, that marquee victory, and he's going to have a chance for that this week against Brady Sr. And then I would say kind of my big winner is, it'd be easy to go Illinois, but I'm actually going to go with Andy and Penn State because, you know what? No, I'll go UCLA and Vic because I did not expect Vic to beat Outlaw by as much as he beat him by. Outlaw is a pretty good coach, and he went and just smoked Outlaw 35-7. And then he's played Utah really good to start the year, and then he was able to beat Dak as well. So despite this UCLA team not being the best, Vic's been able to do a very good job of getting the most he can out of this team. And I think especially with him having been at UCLA previously, he knows his team kind of well. He's done a good job with Nico, and I kind of expect Vic to be a little bit of a shocker. And he has a lot of really winnable games, I think. Like, this Northwestern game is winnable, this MSU game is winnable, Maryland's winnable. I would say USC and Washington are kind of winnable. So he could easily find himself with 5 Big Ten wins, which would be a great season for him. Make a bowl game with the UCLA team that has a win goal of 2. So hopefully that works out for him. Hopefully he ends the season well. But shout out to Vic's been doing really well. And then, of course, listen to his podcast because it's really fun to listen to. I think him and Sammy do a great job. And Doc, of course. Sammy and Doc do a great job on that podcast. So, but that's it for the Big Pod this week. I appreciate anyone who tuned in to listen. I appreciate anyone who's listening now, delayed on whether it's Spotify or on YouTube. You guys really do a great job messaging in the Big Ten. I think we've done a great job as a conference thus far. Like I said, after episode 2, we kind of had a block to turn things around. I think we have. Maybe we didn't get this huge marquee out-of-conference win, but I think we showed a lot more competitiveness. We didn't have any crazy SEC games, but I do think the Big Ten's, maybe we're not playing the best conference in the league, but I think we still have the reigning defending national champion, which I think is huge, and I think you guys have the ability to kind of play up to the most of your talents and kind of come away and really prove people wrong. So I look forward to seeing you guys prove a bunch of people wrong because you're going to have some haters, you're going to have some people that doubt on you, but you guys always come through tough. That's what you can do now. It's what you can do in life. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for listening. As always, long live the NDL, but always more importantly, fire up